90 minutes plus 30 minutes of extra time plus 6 rounds of penalties. FC Naples advances 4-3 over Union Omaha on penalty kicks. We're in the semifinals. Joel Serrano, FC Naples cult hero, too soon?
I don't think it's too soon to say that at all. You step up like that and you get three saves to put us through. You're etching your name into the history books.
Yeah, what a match. Just incredible. What a season so far for this FC Naples team. Um, I was just blown away by the performance. Lots of ups and downs. We'll get into all that later, but the key takeaway here is FC Naples through to the semifinals of the playoffs. You can't ask for much more.
No, and you can't take that for granted. I think Knoxville's a relatively new team, but like this is their first time in the semifinal or second time in the semifinals. I mean, making it this far is what teams strive for all year to be playing semifinal weekend, and FC Naples got the job done. It's been a rocky road to get here, but none of that matters now. We're here with 2 games to go to be crowned champions.
Yeah, 90 minutes away now from the final. It's just crazy to think that where we've come since starting this, when the season started back in March, to be in the semifinal and 120 minutes away now from the title.
Yeah, and you get a
180,
full
180
shift.
minutes.
Yeah, and it's a full shift from a lot of guys playing minutes. You needed the full length of the bench, and we just kind of talked about it throughout the year that you need squad rotation, you need depth, and it proved to be a key piece here on Saturday. And Matt Poland, I think, made all the right decisions, and it paid off.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into Saturday. Without further ado, first 30 minutes of the match, I kind of felt like Omaha was buzzing and they kind of were creating the better of the chances. What did you make of the first half, kind of as a whole?
Yeah, it was back and forth. It did feel like they had the better chances, but nothing really too high danger. They had a couple opportunities where either the back line or Delgado cut off the angles, and we did what we needed to do, and we didn't allow a goal in that final 15, which we've talked about all year being a key. That middle 30, and they held their own, and they did enough to get into halftime at 0-0.
Yeah, that's what I was really impressed with. I think that back line had really stepped up, and even the midfield as well had stepped up, and it was a classic FC Naples performance. As much as we can have a classic performance being a season old, but just suffocating them in the final third, kind of letting them knock the ball around. But then once they get close enough to attack, we just kind of took the chances away from them. We didn't really give them much. So yes, they kind of dominated the possession in that first 30 minutes or so. But yeah, not giving them any big chances. And anytime they got close, we were there to take the ball away and try and break. I did think Omaha did a really nice job in that first 30 minutes of preventing us from countering. And they just would win the balls back in the midfield and be right back coming at us. It was just an interesting game, too, because I thought neither team really in that first 30 minutes was willing to go out on a limb and take a big swing. It was a lot of feeling each other out, I felt like. And then that last 15 minutes of the first half, I thought we kind of started to come alive and try and break through their defense and hit them on the break.
Yeah, it definitely felt like a boxing match where the early rounds, you're throwing a couple light jabs, but neither team going for the knockout or exposing themselves to a knockout. Um, and quite frankly, to an untrained eye, I guess, like to the casual sports fan, would have been considered a really boring half. But in the playoffs, it's not about the flashy win, it's about getting the job done. I think we did a really good job of feeling where we could pick our spots, and there weren't really any spots to be picked. Nothing really to be had. Really, most of the 90 minutes.
Right. Yeah, just a lot of feeling each other out. I thought our biggest chances came in the extra time actually, because
Hmm.
in the second 90 or the second 45 there in the second half, it was kind of more the same of us. I thought we had a lot more possession and we were trying to go through the midfield a lot more, but they were kind of letting us have the ball and kind of doing what we did to them in the first half of just kind of sitting back and saying, okay, come at us, come attack us. And we weren't really able to take advantage of any of that. We had a couple big chances, couple shots. I think we had 2 shots on target in the second half, but nothing really too serious that they had to deal with.
No, really, there was not much in the sense of either goalie really being tested a whole lot. So I think that, in total, they did outshoot us. And I mean, Delgado, I think, had 5 saves to their keeper only needing to make two. Um, but, one stat here that we had was we blocked 6 shots. We blocked a lot of shots. Um, and we got into the box a good amount with opportunities and just weren't ever able to find the right angle to put one home.
Yeah, I thought Max Glasser and Julian Cisneros worked their tails off again, running down those wings, and then finding Onan and Sarah also working down the wings, and then just trying to play the ball down to the byline, cut it back, and then looking for Henderlong for the first half, really, for the first 90 minutes, trying to find someone in the box. And Omaha did a really nice job of filling in the box. It seemed like there was always 4 guys there, and they weren't going to give us an
Hmm.
opportunity like that. So it was kind of a lot of that where it was just back and forth and no real chances to get a big chance until extra time came around. So we played the 90 minutes, and then I think the final maybe 20 minutes of regular time of the 90 was just, if you could have given both coaches a chance to say, hey, let's just take this to penalties, they probably would have signed up for it, because then both teams just kind of took their foot off the gas and said, all right, we're not going to take a risk here. Let's knock the ball around. Let's get this to extra time.
Yeah, and really it was we kind of had a couple opportunities in extra time where the ref blew the whistle. We put the ball in the back of the net twice in extra time. Um, both times, the first one I believe was the keeper going up against Onan, and I'm sure you've had a chance to rewatch this now.
Yeah,
Um, And it's like one of those that if that's our team, I'm yelling foul all day. But I think even a neutral supporter would have thought that that was a pretty quick whistle. Um,
yeah,
would have been kind of a cheap way to win the game, but then you mix in the offsides flag, I think was a few plays later that I think was close. And just kind of it had to have been deflating in the arena at the stadium, seeing 2 goals, two balls in the back of the net and not getting to count either one of them. What were your thoughts on those 2 plays?
yeah. So I think overall, and I think have done a good job this year of not criticizing the officiating too much, because at the end of the day, it's a development league for the officiating too. Um, it was somehow this game felt like it was on the brink of boiling over while also being like overly officiated. Like stuff was there was yellow cards being given out for fouls that were pretty simple, and then fouls that looked like 100% that has to be a yellow card. There was no yellow card. So it was just kind of all over the place. The thing that got me about the Onan challenge on their goalkeeper in extra time was a few minutes before that, we hit the post, and I thought there was a clear foul on their goalkeeper that wasn't called.
Hmm.
So then, yeah, Onan's kind of in his way, and the keeper kind of makes a meal of it, given he was just fouled a few minutes before that. So it probably all evens out there. I think I think the easiest way as a former official is just to give the foul coming out. It's easy. You're going to get a lot less complaints than, oh shoot, did we
Hmm.
just miss a foul on the goalkeeper? Ball's in the back of the net. Like you said, it's a cheap way to win. So it's tough. But yeah, just kind of all over the place with that. And you could see both sets, and it was both ways. Like right, it wasn't just against us. I felt like there was stuff that we had committed fouls. I'm like, okay, that'll be a yellow card. Nope, no yellow card. And they would commit a foul. That's got to be a yellow card. We had a 3v1 going. Nope, no yellow card. So it was kind of all over the place. But yeah, those are definitely our biggest. I agree with you there, where that was a couple of our biggest challenges or biggest chances, and sadly, whistle went and ball had to come out of the back of the net.
Yeah, I do think the Onan one probably should have, like looking back on it, seeing the replay. I think live I was like, oh yeah, that's a clear foul. And then, watching the replay, everything's easier when you have the replay and you can slow it down. And I'm like, that really was a really soft, Onan was there. The keeper comes in trying to make a catch, invading Onan's space and doesn't control it. It's kind of the old adage, when does the keeper have possession of the ball? And I just don't think he earned the right to have that possession there. Um, and just really thankful that that's not something that we're talking about right now as what cost us our season. And that's really kind of where I was going with that, right? Both that and the offsides. It's like those would have been really cheap ways to win or lose for either side. And I'm glad that at the end of the day, it's irrelevant because we got the job done in penalties. I think I'd have a much more adamant stance had we lost in penalties, being like, I would be feeling like we got robbed. Um, because that was probably the most high danger chance for either team in the game. So glad to see that
Yeah,
it didn't really matter, and that's kind of where I say the right team, in my opinion, won this game. Not because I'm a fan of FC Naples, but watching the game, it really felt like that was Naples' game to lose, um, and it um,
yeah.
worked out that
I
way.
think given our extra time performance, I thought we were the clearly the better team there for that 30 minutes. And it was interesting. We kind of talk about Matt Poland's changes in real time. I was kind of sitting back, going, "What is he doing here? Like, what are we doing?" When we get Ian Serrell getting the start, and then you get Andres Farine, who I think is carrying a knock or something because he wasn't in the squad against Charlotte. Coming in at halftime, he made a difference down the wing, and then
Hmm.
that was it. He trusted that 11 until he brought Henderlong off in the 96th minute, who was on a yellow, who had some words to say to the official, I think. Hopefully it wasn't anything else other than that. But then that's when we kind of shifted to more defensive, more compact mindset. But then we created more opportunities that way, which is kind of counterintuitive. But I was like, okay, I trust it. And then we get all the penalty takers coming on right there at the end, and the goalkeeper coming on. So, um, yeah, all that right there at the end, big chances. The offside one that you mentioned, I think, was pretty clearly offside. That
Yeah.
was right in front of me. It was a great call, but just stinks to have to take the ball out of the back of the net.
Yeah, it's you look at it, I don't know how often you get four subs at the 120 plus mark of soccer games. And it kind of was going back to, what we talked about last episode. When does Matt Poland, start setting up for the penalty taking? Henderlong coming out, you're talking about, well, we looked a little bit better. And I think that's almost, we just were able to not focus on trying to get Henderlong the ball and just getting the ball into high danger areas, hoping that somebody is there to make the play and not necessarily trying to force it to Henderlong. Um, there were a couple times throughout the night that I thought we got the ball into the box and kind of was waiting for one good strike, and maybe it hits a defender, takes a weird bounce. And we just never were able to get off any clean shots in the box. Um, you know, I, I think Kendra Long was fine, but he wasn't special. When he came out, I wasn't like, oh, we're in trouble, or didn't really think of anything other than, hey, we're going to get some fresh legs. I did think Bachenstein would have been the sub for that position. So bringing on Purple was an interesting decision. but it ends up paying off in penalties. I believe Perpa stepped up first and buried it, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, Purpa stepped up first. He really set the tone there. The sub coming in, and then Pasnick also took one. He was second. He missed his, or yeah, it was saved. But yeah, Purpa set the tone coming off the bench, and that's got to be tough to. I never played, had to do penalties from as a field player, so I can't imagine one of your first touches being a penalty kick in that situation. So impressive from him to bury that.
Yeah, and now you talk about is was there a Delgado knock, or was he hurt, or did Matt Pullen just think Serrano was the better keeper for penalties, or was it a combination of both? Because he looked so comfortable in net, which was just kind of funny seeing him and not really taking up a whole lot of space because he is kind of a smaller guy. And just seeing him in net and the energy was unbelievable, and kind of getting the momentum from the first miss from Union Omaha being one that hits the woodwork. And I think he had two saves to go along with that. So, a gutsy play to make that decision if you're Matt Poland. Maybe a little bit easier if Delgado was in fact hurt to pull that trigger. But it would be curious to hear if it was always the plan to put Serrano in net for penalties.
Yeah, it almost seemed like it. And I know Delgado's kind of been nursing an injury here the past few weeks. He's gone down quite a few times the past couple games with something going on with one of his legs. And the trainers have come on and taken care of him. But it did seem like this was more of a tactical change, and I hope it was a tactical change. No offense to Serrano, who's now our cult hero here on the podcast, having saved all those penalties. But Delgado just commands the box so well, and Serrano's only other appearance for us this season, he was sent off against Portland. So it was nice to see him come in and save a couple penalties. It was impressive. But yeah, it did seem like a tactical change of, okay, Serrano's going to be our guy to save penalties, and he read them all perfectly. And I mean, to come up with two big saves, make one guy hit the post, and I think if it doesn't hit the post, I think he's right there to save it. So
Hmm.
great performance by him.
Yeah, that one either is saved, hits the post, or goes wide. I mean, he had the right angle. The old Gordon Bombay, Charlie Conway, well, a quarter of an inch the other way, and you miss the net completely. I don't think that shot goes in. It's either the save, the post, or missing wide. So, um, it. What type of advantage do you think there was having the penalties down at the fan section with Libera 239 in the back there? I know when we had Tampa, I think they tried to do it down there, and then somebody set off like a smoke grenade. So they're like, nope, we're going to do it on the other end. And Delgado had to do his best to time waste to let the fans get down there. But the energy felt better with it being on that end versus when we played Tampa and it was on our end. Obviously, better for us because that's kind of where we sit. So, probably better view if it was on the opposite end. But in terms of a tactical advantage, has to have some value being on that right side.
Yeah, I think that definitely brought the energy and really put the pressure on Omaha. It's got to, like, that's just a tough place to go in front of all the drums, the flags, all those, the fans down there. Definitely brought the pressure, and to see a lot of the stadium run down there too to get ready for the penalties was pretty cool. So
Hmm.
yeah, I think it was definitely an advantage Naples. One thing I failed to mention in our lengthy discussion about penalty kicks last week was, if you ever get the option, you always want to go first because the pressure's
Hmm.
off. If you make or miss, it's okay. You've just put the pressure now on them. So I'd love to know who actually won the coin toss and who elected to go first, because that's what we are always trained to do. Was you want to go first because now you've put the pressure on them to make their shots, and it worked because every time we stepped up, and if we missed a shot, they missed a shot. If we made a shot,
Hmm.
they made a shot until the last round. So it worked out really well. And yeah, like you said, I think the pressure kind of intensified with them having to shoot in front of Labara 239 there with all the drums and the noisemakers and the smoke bombs and the flags. And it was, yeah, I would not want to take a penalty in that situation.
Yeah, the guy I was watching the game with, I had the multi-screens going. I was with some Dodger fans, so it was the baseball game was on the big TV, and I had to until penalty kicks, then I threw it up on the big TV because I was like, this is more important than the World Series. Um, and he mentioned that stat that you just mentioned, that the teams that go first do statistically win more often, and I thought that was an interesting. I would have never thought that way because in most other sports, you're kind of trained that you want to play defense first so your offense can win it
Mm-hmm.
for you. You think about football, you want to be on defense first, see what you have to do. And penalties is just not the same way. And we never trailed in that game or in penalties because every time, like you said, anytime we missed, they didn't answer. Either Serrano saved it or they hit the post, whatever. And quite frankly, I think all of our shots I thought were good, except for O'Connor's. O'Connor's was the only one that was like, oh man, that was a bad shot. Did of our two misses, what were
Yeah.
your thoughts?
When I watched it back too, it was almost like you could see the second he made contact with it, he didn't like it. Um, it was, yeah, that was not a great one. Pasnick's too, which was also saved, not a great penalty. But thankfully, you get a Jake Dangler stepping up and just burying it. It's like kick it as hard as
Burying
you
it.
can into the side netting. That was a great penalty. And same with Ian Garrett stepping up to do the same in that sixth round, pressure on when you, especially when you're not expecting to take a penalty,
Hmm.
being the sixth guy, and impressive. It was kind of interesting to me who did take penalties. Obviously, you get the subs stepping up, but Fareen's kind of been our go-to penalty taker, and he didn't take a penalty. So I don't know if they were saving him for round 7 or what the case was there, but
Yeah, and
it was
even like
interesting.
Onan, I think Onan went third. You're right
I
though.
think
It
Onan
was
went
a weird
fifth.
fifth. Okay, yeah, it was just like an odd. You're right. It was an odd, lineup where the guys that kick your PKs in the run of play aren't aren't your focal point. And I'm fine with shifting them later, but like you want to ensure that your best takers are getting an opportunity. So the fact that we didn't even get to Fareen in right, like the O'Connor play is the one that you're kind of, especially since he did miss, is the one to me that felt the most off. Dangler looked really comfortable with his, and when he stepped up, buried it. You're like, I see exactly why Matt Poland wanted that guy to go. Um, but the O'Connor one, you're like, ooh, that was just a not, didn't look comfortable, wasn't a great shot. So it wasn't very, I didn't even think about the fact that Fareen didn't even get a chance. And I don't know where he was at. He was obviously healthy enough to run for 75 minutes of play. So, yeah, that would be another question I would have for Matt Poland.
Yeah, and it's penalties are such a mental thing too, where you kind of just have to trust the guys in the huddle and say, okay, who's taking one? At least that was always the case when I would go through these practices and in practice during games and stuff. It was okay, who's taking one? Who wants to step up? And I'll go first. I'll go second. I'll go third. That kind of thing. I always put my hand up as a goalkeeper, and most of the time it was like, okay, you sit down. You'll be the sixth guy, or you'll be the 11th guy to take one. Um, but yeah, it's penalties fun. I did realize that was my first time ever as a fan witnessing penalty kicks in person,
In person.
which I will say much better TV product, but still a lot of fun to be live in person as a fan.
Yes, especially when you're on the opposite end. I don't know if you moved from our normal spot, if you tried to get a little bit closer. When we did play the Rowdies and they were down on that end, it was pretty good viewing. But I agree that the TV view penalties are almost made to be watched on television more so than at the field.
Yeah, unless you're down there, and we weren't moving because we were like, okay, this spot's been lucky all season. We're staying put.
Hmm.
So we stayed put. So well, with that win now, FC Naples advances to the semifinals. It was decided earlier as of the recording of this on Sunday. We will be facing one Knoxville who just beat Charlotte Independence 2-1. So a rematch against one Knoxville. One Knoxville, one of the few teams in the league we've actually never beaten. We lost 1-0 to them at home early on in the season and then drew 0-0 away to Knoxville a few weeks ago. What are you looking forward to in this one, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, it's the we have a draw and a loss. That loss, if for the fans that don't remember or don't follow as closely as we do, came from the controversial penalty in the box towards the end of the first half that they were able to bury and beat us 1-0 fairly early in the year. So looking forward to kind of that rematch, and it's kind of right like it's a new season. Kind of what happened in the regular season is not necessarily indicative of what's going to happen next. Watching the game today, um, is kind of a tale of two halves for Knoxville, where they looked really, really good in the first half, and then second half they allowed a late goal, which put the pressure on for the final 10 to 15 minutes, where Charlotte was looking hard. There were a lot of openings there that I thought that if it was the Naples squad needing to get the equalizer, I think they would have gotten the equalizer. Um, with the way that Knoxville was playing. So I expect this game to be very similar to kind of what we saw Saturday. You're probably going to get the early feeling out, nobody wanting to make a mistake, and then you're going to see the second half open up a little bit. But kind of once you get to that 75-minute mark, it'll go back to kind of tightening up, and nobody wants to lose end their season on a heartbreaking goal. So one goal between us in two games. I think that expecting this game to either be 0-0 or 1-0 at the full time whistle is a fair expectation and prediction.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there. I'm not. I'm expecting a very defensive battle in this one. Anything if it was 4-3 or something like that, I would be shocked. But yeah, I think 1-1, 0-0, somewhere along there. FC Naples getting an extra day of rest, which is kind of nice.
Hmm.
Having finished Saturday, but we did also play an extra 30 minutes, so you have to factor that in here. And we'll be traveling to Knoxville. I did have to look it up. Tennessee football is off this week, so it does look like the game will be Saturday. As of the recording of this, no time has been set yet. So stay tuned for that. Keep following along on social media and on USLLeague1.com. I'm sure they will post that as soon as the South Georgia Spokane game wraps up here tonight as we're recording this.
Yeah, you got to think that if Spokane beats South Georgia, you're probably looking at a 7 o'clock Eastern, 10 o'clock Pacific or a 7 and 7, 7 o'clock Eastern time for Knoxville. Even though I do think that they're Central Time Zone, I'd have to double check that. I do think Knoxville is in the Central Time Zone, and then Spokane would play the late game against Portland Hearts of Pine. So Portland is. I guess if South Georgia wins, though, they would be going to Portland. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes, South Georgia
So
would go to Portland. And I have pulled it up here. Knoxville, for those keeping score at home, is actually Eastern Standard Time,
okay, Eastern.
which I was very
Um,
surprised by. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if, both games are Eastern time zone, if they'll keep it kind of the same start time. They'll do simultaneous kicks. Um, I do anticipate both games being on Saturday. I think that would, raise some complaints if one team did get a full extra day um, of rest. But I'm not thinking too much about our extra 30 minutes. I think we're deep enough. And we're at that point of the year that guys are gonna give it their all, and we get a full week off. It's not like we played Friday and we're coming back on a midweek game, or Saturday coming back having to play Wednesday. I think that even the guys that put in the full 120 minutes will be fine with some good recovery, especially because we played at home. So today's a normal day. Monday's probably another recovery day. You do some light training Tuesday, some probably heavier training Wednesday. And then you like to think that we're going to do a training session Thursday before hitting the road Thursday afternoon, Thursday night. That would be my guess of what the travel schedule would be. So you sleep in the hotel in Knoxville Thursday night. You got all day Friday, all day Saturday to mentally prepare um, for the game ahead.
Yeah, it's gonna be. This should be a good game. Looking at FC Naples stats during this season, we are four. We won four, drew four, and lost seven on the road this season. So not the best road record, but still, I mean, we've got a 500 shot of it's a little bit better than 50-50 to win or draw on the road.
Mhm.
So you'll take that all day long, a win or another draw, and let's send it to PKs. I also think there might be some more motivation for us. Just we're almost playing with house money, that kind of mentality of why not us, why not now? Being the 4 seed, them being the 1 seed, kind of spinning it, putting the pressure on them to win, and kind of taking the handcuffs off and saying, all right, let's just go out there and play. Let's do what's worked so well for us all season. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for in this game on Saturday.
Yeah, and
You got to.
the pressure is all on Knoxville. I mean, at the end of the day, if they don't win in the playoffs, I mean, they'll probably hang some sort of banner for being regular season champs. But at the end of the day, this is an Americanized soccer league, and the only thing that people are going to remember is who's lifting the trophy on November 15th. They're not going to care who won in the regular season. It's, the equivalent of the President's Cup winner in hockey. Yeah, it's great. You get a banner, but everybody would rather be lifting the Stanley Cup. And you oftentimes see the President's Cup team doesn't even make the Stanley Cup. So I'm right there with you that the why not us mentality. Um, we spent some time at the top of the table. There's no reason that we can't knock off a team that beat us 1-0 on a bogus penalty call, and a team we drew on the road already. So, um, if I think you're going to lead into asking scoreline prediction, I'm going to go 1-0 Naples. Henderlong gets a 65th minute goal, puts us over the top, and we just park the bus and fend off late chances from Knoxville and advance 1-0.
I like that. I'm going to go 2-1 to Naples. I think Kevin O'Connor's going to win it on a set piece. He was super close. Hit two posts, I think, last time we played at Knoxville. I think he's going to find the back of the net on a set piece goal late on, and we're going to win it 2-1. That's my scoreline prediction
Is
and
there
we'll be dancing into the finals, and who knows, maybe even hosting one more playoff game.
if which is another reason to root for South Georgia Tormenta, because getting to host that championship would be would be awesome. And if South Georgia does knock off Spokane tonight, then it will be the winner of our game that does get to host. Is there anything you saw Saturday that you're like, we need to clean that up before our next match, or anything that causes you some concern going into Saturday?
I think had we not played the extra time, I would have been concerned of where are we going to score from open play, because it seemed like
Hmm.
Omaha was just suffocating us and we couldn't create any chances. Once the extra time came around, we started to create a lot of chances, and it was impressive. More so than in the 90 minutes, and kind of to create all those chances without a true striker up there made it even better. So I wouldn't say so. I think we need to stay solid at the back like we were, and just kind of put in that classic FC Naples performance of be really good at the back, make them turn the ball over, make them make a mistake, and then pounce on them for it and capitalize. I think if we can do that, we'll be into the finals.
Do you think we get to see Bachenstein Saturday? Like I said, I was surprised he didn't come on in extra time. That was my full thought, was that Henderlong was going to be subbed out for Bachenstein late in the game. That didn't happen. Do you think that that's a player that could make a difference Saturday?
I think possibly. I think if Henderlong has scored or if we've got a lead, I think he's going to go very defensive with the subs, which I would support. But maybe if we need a goal late, he's throwing him on along with whoever else off the bench to try and find that spark. So I think if we're down, yes. If we've got a lead or if we're drawn, I don't think we'll see him, and I think we'll make some more defensive subs.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, I think it's awesome that we're still around, and there's no reason to believe that we can't knock off one Knoxville and win the whole thing. So I think Saturday is going to be a lot of fun, and I'm very much looking forward to another FC Naples duel on Saturday.
Me too. This is now 2 games I have not washed my jersey. So it's not going to get washed until we lose or win the whole thing. In which case, I'll probably frame it and never have washed it. So you gotta be superstitious somehow. Gotta ride that wave. Probably won't shave either. Grow a playoff beard.
Nice, nice.
Um, Anything else to add before we go, Paul?
No, check social media, see where the watch party is going to be. If you don't want to go out and hang out with other supporters, the game should be back on ESPN Plus, maybe CBS Sports Network. So, keep in touch with the show or the team site to see, how you can stay involved. Just because it's a road game doesn't mean there isn't an opportunity to support the club. But um, the fans got treated. To a victory Saturday, and you can't really ask for much more than that from the club. So, looking forward. Hopefully, we got two more games to go.
Yeah, hopefully 2 more games. Looking forward to Saturday. Yeah, can't wait for this one. Thank you all so much for listening. As always, follow us on social media. Forza Naples Pod on Instagram is probably where we're most active again now that I was able to log back into the account. Forza Naples on Bluesky. Forza Naples Pod on Reddit as well. You can email the show forzanaples239@gmail.com. But yeah, get in touch with us. Looking forward to Saturday. Until then, come on Naples, up the Naples. Come on you Blues. Let's go Naples. Let's go get in the final.